I just witnessed something that should terrify every American who still believes our democracy runs on facts, not theater. What started as a routine committee hearing on transgender athletes just exploded into the most damning expose of how our political system has been weaponized to protect the powerful while sacrificing the innocent. Picture this. A representative stands up and describes in horrifying detail an 11-year-old child from the Epstein files, burned, tortured, abused, while demanding to know why Congress wastes time on targeting less than 10 transgender athletes instead of confronting the pedophiles who've destroyed countless lives. The room goes dead silent. Then chaos erupts. What happened next exposes the rot at the heart of American politics. Accusations fly. A Wyoming representative tries to deflect by naming a Democratic colleague as Epstein's fixer. The ranking member fires back with photographs proving Trump's decade-long friendship with Epstein. Voices raise. Order breaks down. And in that breakdown, you see exactly how our representatives choose partisan protection over child protection. This isn't politics as usual. This is democracy having a nervous breakdown in real time, with our elected officials more concerned about scoring points than protecting children. The transcript I'm about to break down reveals something far more dangerous than any single scandal. It shows how institutional integrity dies, one deflection at a time.
Okay, you will find a lot of stuff out. If you are hinging your case on the idea that Donald Trump didn't know Jeffrey Epstein, you are in for a very serious public collapse if that's your argument. As this comes forward,
that wasn't my
you
argument.
Cannot compare.
My argument is about Stacey Plaskett.
Excuse me, I'd like my time restored, okay?
Committee will be in order. Mr. Raskin controls the time, and he has not yielded. Mr. Raskin.
Stacey Plaskett is barely a comma in the encyclopedia of Donald Trump's complicity and involvement with Jeffrey Epstein and his international human sex trafficking ring. Okay, and if you don't understand that and you don't believe it, then you've not done anything to familiarize yourself with the evidence, Ms. Hageman. I'm sorry. And I know that your predecessor in office, Ms. Cheney, would have done that. She was scrupulous and she was studious and she took the facts seriously and she was not an ideologue who just fell for a cult leader. Okay? Now, back to the matter at hand. Presently, the Olympic Committee has already made the decision, I think, in more than half of the sports. So it's already decided, for example, that with respect to boxing, with respect to rugby, with respect to swimming, with respect to tennis, and with respect to volleyball, as I understand it, that all of these are limited to the sex assigned at birth. That's already been decided. So we are intervening now as the United States Congress to make a decision about a miscellaneous category of a handful of other sports, which have not even been mentioned by our colleagues, which appear to still be open to transgender athletes. Here are the ones that I see them are skateboarding, skiing and snowboarding, table tennis, ping pong, and then ultimate frisbee. Now, perhaps someone over there can explain why, when American citizens are being shot in the face by federal agents and the entire heartland of the country is in an uproar because of Donald Trump's private paramilitary army that nobody on the other side seems to want to talk about, we should be talking about whether or not transgender girls or women should be able to participate in ultimate frisbee competitions. Because that's really what we're talking about today. But they sure would much rather be talking about that than anything else. They don't want to talk about what's really in the Epstein files. I'm surprised, I'm stunned, I'm astonished, I'm flabbergasted by Ms. Hageman, who seems to go way beyond anything else I've heard from other Republicans. She seems to be in open denial that Donald Trump and Melania Trump had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. That's astonishing to me. I think she's setting herself for a huge public relations fall by going that far. Oh, here's some photographs, Ms. Hageman. How do you see about those? You think those are created by artificial intelligence? You got any problem with any of those pictures of your hero with Jeffrey Epstein, his closest friend for more than a decade? Thank you for bringing forth the photographic evidence. Keep that up for a while. Apparently, some people haven't seen those pictures. They're very happy to talk about Stacey Plaskett, the non-voting delegate from the Virgin Islands, or Bill Clinton. And anybody who was involved in any crime should be punished for it, whether they're Democrat, Republican, Independent. I'll say it right now. Will Ms. Hageman, the very distinguished general lady from Wyoming, say that? Will she say that Republicans should be punished for their crimes if they were complicit in a $1 billion international child sex trafficking ring? I don't think so. I don't think she'll say it, not if it's Donald Trump. It's all about Donald Trump following him off into a path of oblivion. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Is there further discussion? Mr. Moore.
I yield to the gentlelady from Wyoming.
Just very briefly, it clearly hit a nerve, didn't I, Mr. Raskin?
Oh, very much so, because you don't tell the truth.
It's very obvious.
And that hits a huge nerve.
I think that it's very obvious.
Ms.
I think
Hageman,
it's
I'll
very
interrupt her the
obvious.
same number of times she interrupted me, Mr. Chairman.
Controls the time and is not yielded.
Mr. Chairman, hold on. The ranking member just accused the gentlelady of lying. And I don't...
Never use that word. Never use that word.
Didn't he say about not telling the truth?
The committee will be in order, Mr.
That was the
Roy.
standard established earlier today, Mr. Roy. You weren't here.
The committee will be in order. Does Mr. Roy make a point of order?
May I inquire as to whether the gentleman with the ranking member accused the gentlelady of not telling the truth? I heard something to that effect, and I might have misheard.
If the general lady was denying that Donald Trump knew Jeffrey Epstein, that would not be a truth that I could endorse in the world of objective reality.
This is my time. I never made that claim.
I'll yield back for now,
never
Mr. Chairman.
made
Everybody
that
calm down here, okay? The committee will be in order. I would remind members to direct their comments to the chair. The gentleman will continue in order. Oh, pardon me, gentlelady will continue in order.
Thank you. The point of this is that nobody has made that claim, yet in order to try to deflect attention from the fact that Stacey Plaskett was Jeffrey Epstein's fixer, the ranking member has become hysterical over the fact that there are published photographs of Donald Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody on this side has ever claimed otherwise or that they did not know each other. They absolutely did. But Donald Trump was not the attorney or the fixer for Jeffrey Epstein. Stacey Plaskett was. So the point that I am making is when you have accusations being made by the other side about powerful men covering up for Jeffrey Epstein, I think the very first person you need to look to is Stacey Plaskett, a powerful woman via New York and the Virgin Islands. That was the point. That doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump. That has to do with whether Stacey Plaskett is associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and she clearly is, as is shown by the records. So if you are concerned about powerful people covering up for Jeffrey Epstein, perhaps you need to visit with Stacey Plaskett first. That was the point, Mr. Raskin, and I don't think there's anything further to say. I yield back.
I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields back.
What I just witnessed wasn't politics. It was institutional collapse disguised as governance. This hearing started with a simple question about transgender athletes and devolved into something far more revealing about how American democracy actually functions when the stakes get real. The numbers tell one story: fewer than 10 transgender athletes out of 500,000 NCAA competitors. That's 0.0002% of student athletes. Yet here sits Congress, burning committee time on this microscopic issue while children's testimonies about systematic abuse gather dust. Why? Because targeting 10 people generates more political capital than confronting a $1 billion child trafficking network that implicates powerful figures across party lines. But then, something extraordinary happened. A representative broke the fourth wall of political theater by reading directly from Epstein victim testimonies. An 11-year-old child tortured with a magnifying glass, burned, abused. The room's energy shifted instantly. You could feel the discomfort. This wasn't abstract policy debate anymore. This was raw human suffering demanding accountability. Watch what happened next, because it reveals everything wrong with our system. Instead of moral outrage, we got deflection tactics. the Wyoming representative immediately pivoted to attack Stacey Plaskett, calling her Epstein's fixer. Classic deflection. When confronted with systemic horror, point fingers at the opposing team. Never mind that Plaskett wasn't even voting on this bill. Never mind addressing the actual victims. Then Raskin countered by displaying photographs of Trump and Epstein together, proving their decade-long friendship. More deflection in reverse. Two sides playing political ping-pong with child trafficking evidence while the actual policy question, what protects children in sports, gets buried under partisan warfare. This is how institutional integrity dies. Not through dramatic coups or constitutional crises, but through representatives who've learned that deflection beats accountability every single time. Each side maintains plausible deniability while the real predators, the systematic enablers, the institutional protectors, the financial networks, remain untouched. The most chilling moment wasn't the graphic testimony or the photograph reveals. It was watching elected officials treat child torture as ammunition for political theater. When representatives use victim testimony as props for partisan attacks rather than calls for justice, the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. Here's what this hearing actually revealed. Congress has become a performance space where real problems get weaponized into political content. The 10 transgender athletes become symbols rather than individuals. The trafficking victims become evidence for partisan arguments rather than humans deserving justice. Everyone becomes a character in someone else's political narrative. The deeper issue isn't Trump's connections or Plaskett's alleged involvement. It's a system where accountability is impossible because everything becomes partisan ammunition. When you can deflect any accusation by pointing across the aisle, when you can turn any testimony into political theater, when you can make every victim's story about your opponent's guilt rather than systemic reform, you've created perfect immunity for institutional predators. This is why nothing changes. Not because the evidence isn't clear, but because our political system has evolved to metabolize any scandal into partisan energy rather than institutional accountability. The predators win not by hiding the evidence, but by ensuring it becomes political rather than legal evidence. Real reform would require representatives who prioritize victim protection over party protection. Instead, we got a perfect demonstration of how American politics transforms every moral crisis into entertainment, every systematic horror into partisan opportunity, and every chance for justice into political theater. The children described in those Epstein files deserved better than being used as props in congressional theater. The transgender athletes deserve better than being scapegoated for political capital. And American citizens deserve representatives who can distinguish between governance and performance art.